We're at the Amsterdam 3D Printing Conference. I'm talking to Marta Male Alemany. She's a professor at the HVA School of Engineering, and I'm asking her what the influence of 3D printing is in the architectural and the building world.
What is the influence? Well, there is many developments at the moment. It's not yet totally integrated into building construction, but we are beginning to see new trends in how the technology will arrive into building construction.
Enlighten me. In what phase of the project is 3D printing now relevant in architecture and building?
Well, there is, as you know, here in Amsterdam, there is already some experimental projects going on, like the 3D printed canal house and the 3D printed bridge in metal by Joris Laarman. So we are beginning to see real applications here in the city of Amsterdam. Nonetheless, there is today I presented in the conference many different trends in architecture, how 3D printed is used. For instance, we are beginning to see that 3D printing is hybridizing with the construction methods that we know. For example, with 3D printing the formwork of concrete walls, or let's say printing molds that could be to make complex structures with molds that can be reusable, reprinted, etc.
So that is something you say it is starting to appear. Now, 3D printing is not new. I think I saw it 20 years ago. It was already, in some industries it was already big. Why is it just starting? Why is things so slow in the architectural and in the building industry?
Actually, it's not just starting, because already 20 years ago, there were some people, 3 engineers to be precise, that already began to think that we can 3D print buildings. So already 20 years ago.
Yeah. The concept was there. It just takes a long time before it's starting to be used.
But 3D printing in concrete, for instance, started in 1996 or 1998 in California. So now we see the Chinese applying it to build mass-produced houses in China. But this
10 houses in 24 hours.
Right.
By concrete, very cheap houses, or luxury villas in one day or something like that. But they do it in China. Why not here in Holland or Europe?
Well, because here in Holland and Europe, we do believe in design, and we do believe that the technology has something to offer in terms of design. While in China, they are doing just straight walls. They are really mass-producing houses. They don't care about design whatsoever. What they want is to reduce labor and deal with their urban growth problem. So the
much more practical.
The pressing issues are completely different. Let's see here what kind of pressing issues we can respond to so that the technology can actually arrive into the building sector.
Okay, so then another question, how can 3D printing be relevant? Because we're here in Amsterdam, everything is complex, everything is in a myriad of thousands and thousands of buildings which cover thousands of years. How can 3D printing be relevant in the building industry in, for example, Amsterdam or the Netherlands?
Well, for example, as soon as the building industry realizes that, for example, they can reduce the weight of their building components, they can make construction panels a lot more efficient acoustically, from an insulation point of view, drainage point of view, everything that involves complex geometries that could lead to efficiency. Will have consequences in terms of reducing, for example, fuel. When you can transport building materials that are a lot lighter, then we will start saving in fuel and saving in transport, etc., etc. So I think that little by little, we are going to realize that the technology can bring added value into the world of architecture and construction.
Who will be the initiators of 3D printing? Will it be on the architectural/design side, or will we have a building place where a big 3D printer will print out a lot of molds and a lot of special material for so that we don't have to make it in factories? Or will it be the 3D printing inside the factories which will prefab everything?
Well, you have already a site in Amsterdam where they have built this enormous 3D printer for plastic, in this case.
Really? Where is that?
In this 3D printed canal house, where they are printing the building components on site. But that is monomaterial, it's with plastic. And, well, as soon as we begin to think about a construction of a building that is multi-material, unless the technology moves into printing with several materials at the same time, You will have different printers, and a metal printer has very different characteristics than a plastic printer. And I don't think that it will be possible to have all the printers on site. But I think that hopefully the tendency will be that there are sufficient printers that parts do not need to be shipped from the other side of the world, but actually can be printed much closer to the building site and assembled on site.
What
So,
we're seeing with Boeing. Boeing has about 4.5 million parts, and they've identified 2.5 million which can be printed, in very near the places where these parts need to be. They don't need to be flown out from Seattle. And at a certain point, that will also happen in the building industry, but it will take 5 years or 10 years. How long does it take new technology to enter into a market? You had a very nice talk about that, how it first gets into avant-garde and then slowly moves all over the world and into reality. How long does it take?
well, 7 years ago, we were doing a lot of research in academics in Barcelona and in London. And some of the things that we proposed in that environment are only now beginning to emerge in practice and in very innovative and emergent practices because my students actually went to work for them. So my prediction is that right now is in the so-called avant-garde of architecture, but it will only make it into really applicable to the building industry at large, let's say 10 years from now. That's
Okay, 10 years from now, a building near you will have the 3D printing, new ways of working, which is now being preached here at the 3D printing conference in Amsterdam. Thank you very much. I really
let me
appreciate it.
just
And
say,
this is her first day in Amsterdam. And she wants to say one more thing.
no, let me just say that hopefully we will see buildings printed before. And I think, for example, there is another beautiful example of Ovearo who's doing these metal joints, actually 3D printed in metal, that are a lot more optimal than normally welded joints. So there are examples out there that I think make us believe that it will come closer to architecture sooner. But if we want to think about the large market, that I think will take 10 years.
Alemany. This is her first day in Amsterdam as a professor on the HVA School of Engineering. We're very happy